UFC Fight Night Saudi Arabia in the Kingdom Arena, where we've had all those big boxing fights, all that malarkey going on with Turkey Al Sheikh just dominating the boxing world. And do you know what? I'm a massive boxing fan, but I reckon that it sounded like a bit of a better atmosphere in there last night. I don't know if you just don't pick it up in there or what, but it took a little while to get going, but it seemed like it was a good night. From an admin point of view, this fight card has been an absolute shit show. An absolute shit show. Fighters pulling out, fights being changed left, right, and centre. But they got it done. And for what I thought was going to be a pretty average fight night, it's pretty good, you know. It was good. I like it when it's over here, this way, this side of the world. It means that I can actually watch it at a decent time. We'll get stuck in to the main card because no one gives a shit about the prelims, really, do they? First up, we had Johnny Walker. Now, bless him. He's a character. I like him a lot. But when he gets against someone who can punch at range, he just crumbles. He just falls apart. He doesn't know what to do. He got absolutely rocked, levelled. The ref could have probably stepped in and give him a little bit of help after he got dropped, but he got hit with another shot when he was on the ground. And he was out cold, stiff as a board. You hate to see it, but it's an impressive knockout. It really is an impressive knockout. I know I'm going to get his name wrong, but I think it's Oezdemir. Oezdemir. He looks good, man. He looks good. Excited to see what he does. Keep ripping through. That light heavyweight division isn't stacked, but, you know, I fancy him to really break through, get up to a high rank in there. And let's see what he's got. I felt a little bit bad for Johnny Walker, but, you know, he deserved to get knocked out there because he just didn't put up a fight at all. Next, we've got Shara Bullet. And this fight was a shit show because his opponent, I think he had 3 opponents that cancelled on him before this fight came in. I'll try and get it up now. Yeah. So it's only his second fight in the UFC, and there's a huge amount of hype around this guy. He looks like a fucking lunatic. He looks like he would be an absolute menace and a real problem at middleweight. I'm not getting it. I'm not getting this hype train around him. I just don't think he's good enough. Yeah, he's a scary looking bloke. Yes, he's obviously a phenomenal athlete. His kicking game is unreal. Other than that, I'm not really getting the hype around him. I'm really not. His wrestling isn't great. Takedown defense isn't great. His hands aren't great. Yes, he got the knockout here with his hands, but I just don't get this hype around him at the minute. From what I've seen so far, these fancy question mark kicks, brutal, baseball bat like leg kicks, but I'm not buying into it at the minute. I've got to see something better. And I reckon we've put him up against Kelvin Gastelum and see how he really goes, because that's a test for any fighter in that division. Any fighter. But yeah, this Trocoli guy that he was fighting, Brazilian, you know, good fighter. His UFC debut coming in off the Contender Series. I think he was from the Contender Series. And he was originally supposed to fight someone else on the card, I think. But I'm not too sure. I might have made that up. But anyway, he come in on super late notice. I think he arrived or got the phone call in LA on the Thursday night and then got a flight within a few hours out to Turkey to then get a transfer to Saudi Arabia to fight on Saturday and cut weight. So this should have been even more of a walkthrough for the bloke. He should have just absolutely steamrolled this guy. Shara should have. But he hasn't. And he's a tall fella, you know, he's rangy, Trocoli, like handy Brazilian, has got a bit of wrestling to him. It's a jiu-jitsu brown belt, I think. Quite a good puncher. You're fighting someone who's agreed to fight you on 3 days' notice. You've got to be running through him, especially when there's all this hype train around you. You've got to be just demolishing the guy, but it hasn't happened. Gave up a pretty good first round, Trocoli, and then he just gassed. Didn't have anything in the locker, I don't think. By the end of it, it was quite painful to watch, really. He just stood there and just flipping, yeah, just took a pasting. Just got battered for a round and a half. And he showed up well, tried to wrestle a little bit, but didn't have the legs to do it. Just kept coming up too high on him. And it was pretty savage to see him get knocked out, to be fair, because it was just like waiting for it to happen. And it happened in a pretty bad way, let's be honest. Yeah, he gets knocked out. He shouldn't have been in there for that long. Ref could have probably stopped it before because he took a good barrage of punches. But, you know, he seems like a good prospect. He seems like a good fighter. It'd be good to get him in there again and like actually work his way through division with a proper fight camp, proper weight cut, proper preparation. But what a warrior. What a warrior. To go in there like that on that few days' notice and just go, do you know what, fuck it, I'll have a go at the hype train. We'll get stuck into him. These Brazilians, mate, they're flipping lunatics, a lot of them. Next up, we've got Kelvin Gastelum, Daniel Rodriguez. Now, again, this was a bit of a shit show because they were supposed to fight a welterweight. And Kelvin Gastelum just said, do you know what? I'm a bit fat still. I'm a bit fat. Not had the best training camp. I'm not going to make weight. Which is just so fucking unprofessional. And I love Gastelum. I think he's fucking unreal. He's a great fighter. Always shown up. Absolute blockhead on him. Got an iron chin. But to just say, no, I'm not going to make 170. Do you want to just fight at 180 instead? Is terror for me. It is terror. But fair play to Daniel Rodriguez. Again, warrior. I want to say that he's like a proper LA gangster. Spent a bit of time in prison and stuff. Came into the MMA world quite late because I think he's 37 now, which is fucking bonkers. Why are all these UFC fucking fighters fighting well into their 30s? It's embarrassing for me. I'm 32. I know I look 42. But to see them doing that, I'm like, Jesus, I need to be doing better. All these UFC fighters, the fittest blokes in the world, just violently beating the shit out of each other well into their 30s. It's wild. But yeah, Danny Rodriguez, he steps up and says, fuck it, yeah, I'll fight you at 180. Fair play to him. Again, absolute warrior. I mean, he's not of the highest prestige of fighters, but Kelvin Gastelum's been sort of up and down, you know. He's had his good fights. Obviously, that one against Izzy was one of the greatest fights in UFC history. I thought it was unreal. But, yeah, this was set to be a good scrap, to be fair, and it was. I thought it was a good fight. Kelvin came out well, started fast, just kind of controlled the distance, controlled the pace of the fight as well. Daniel Rodriguez couldn't really get into it. I didn't feel like had a few good barrages. He throws good combos. And then especially when Kelvin gets a bit tired, because, you know, he's a little chubby fella, so he does get tired. He just didn't have it. He just didn't have enough. Didn't have enough in him. Kelvin gets quite a late takedown as well, which just gives him an opportunity to slow down, control the fight even more. But I just love watching Kelvin fight, to be fair. He is one of those blokes that just sits there and just lets people throw combos at him. He's just like, yeah, go on and wait. I'll wait till you're done. And then I'll come back and we'll have a go of it, shall we? He's unreal. Love seeing him fight. I don't know what he's going to do next, because he's kind of always been there or thereabouts in the division, but never actually quite made it. All right, we've got two mental heavyweight Russians up next. Now, Volkov has been in and around the top 10, top 15 for fucking years. Rate him as a fighter. Has had very good wins against very good opponents. Pavlovich the same. Pavlovich is a monster. He looks like a fucking giant, absolutely huge bloke, and he just runs through people. Didn't happen this time. This is the first fight he's had in the UFC that has gone past a round. He's either knocked them all out or been knocked out in the first round. That's a hell of a record. That's a hell of a record. But they come into this fight, and, you know, being the shorter man, because Volkov's 6 foot 100, just couldn't get on the inside. Couldn't get inside him. Volkov just controlled the distance, chopped the legs, throws good leg kicks, to be fair, Volkov. I would not want to be fucking hit with one of them. Would not want to be hit with one of them. Chops the legs, keeps the distance, got the energy to just keep bouncing around. Got caught in a firefight a couple of times, and if Pavlovich hits you, you go down. So he did quite well there. He's got lucky not to get slept a few times. But yeah, you look at the pair of them after the fight. Pavlovich looked beat up. He just got caught with those long shots, straight right hands, just jabbed a lot, just kept at distance with a kick, and he just looked beat up and tired by the end of it. He couldn't break that distance, couldn't get in there, and couldn't make a fight of it that he likes to do. He likes to get inside and then just start swinging. What else was absolutely fucking insane about this fight was Volkov was getting his hair combed in between rounds. His coach had a comb and was giving him the 40s comb over in between rounds. I've never seen anything like that before, so fair play. Look good, play good, fight good, win good. Can't knock it. Then we got the main event. We got Robert Whittaker versus Aliskerov. Should have been Khamzat Chimaev, which would have been unreal. Chimaev making his debut, moving up, but I don't know, he got ill or whatever it was. Fuck knows with him. He's always been a nightmare. But I love seeing him fight. So I was a bit gutted when he couldn't make this one. But Robert Whittaker, as game as anyone, says, yeah, go on then. Whoever you want to put in there, I'll fight him. Aliskerov steps up. Fair play. Bold move. I think he's only fought in the UFC a couple of times. So for him to just go, yeah, fuck it, I'll fight him. Whittaker's former champ, been up there for years. Always proved himself. Always done well. A couple of losses, don't get me wrong, but he's still thereabouts. I'd argue to say that he's probably one of the most skilled UFC fighters across the board. Great wrestling, good jiu-jitsu, great kicks, good hands, carries power, good engine. He's just good at everything. So this was set to be quite a good fight because this Aliskerov, he's combat Sambo champion, which is what all these nutty Dagestanis do. And he's been world champion for years and years. So it always transitions well. It's that kind of weird combo that works well in MMA. So it should have been a pretty good fight. It wasn't. Like in the Reaper, old Bobby Knuckles just jumps in and does what he does. Throws his hands, good combinations, clean combinations, catches him with a right hand, rocks him. His legs go like jelly, stumbling all over the place. And what I love about this next bit is that Bobby just had the composure. Bobby Wits, man. He just knows what he's doing. The experience shone through. Just took his time, tried a head kick, didn't quite land it. Steps out, steps in again. Massive uppercut. Just folds the bloke in half. Comes away with a W. He's unreal. And even after the fight and stuff, he's just a little Aussie nerd. I think he's Kiwi, actually. He definitely lives in Australia, but I think he was born in New Zealand. But yeah, he's just such a nice bloke. He's just funny. He's got a good character about him. Unreal fighter. Wants to fight anyone. I'd love to see him go for the title again. I know that Adesanya and Duplessis are fighting in Perth in a few months' time, I think. That'll be massive. Get him on the undercard. I know he said he wants to go there as a replacement, but put him on the undercard. Why not? Home nation, let him have it. And get him a title fight again, man. I just love seeing him fight. He's such a good bloke. He's so cool. He's just chilled. Great fighter. Pleasure watching him. So, yeah, fair play to him. I want to see him just keep going. I'd love to see him get the belt again. I love Izzy. I don't like Duplessis. Strickland talks a good game, but I don't really like watching him fight. So I'd love to see Whittaker go for it again. And give him whoever wins out of Izzy and Duplessis. Let him have another go at it. Get that strap, boy. Yeah, so that's that. Good card all round, to be fair. Good fight night. Couple of good fights, couple of good knockouts in there. UFC 303 next. Pereira, Prohaska. Unreal fight, that. Love to see that again. So, yeah, let's hope for the best. Like, subscribe, do all the jazz. You know the drill.